Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sporting Kansas City Show on your home for SKC Soccer, Sports Radio 810 WHB, wherever you get your podcast, wherever you stream your video content, be that on the 810 Facebook page or YouTube channel, all the podcast venues out there. We appreciate all those things, however you consume this wonderful show. We love having you here, and we have a busy show for you today. Hot off the presses. What are you guys laughing at me for?
No, we're not laughing at you. Carter had a little Slack message.
Having a Slack catastrophe.
Just as we turned off our email notifications, right on cue.
To be fair, it's not my computer. It's Jordan Burrell's computer right next to me, and it's super loud. And
well, for whatever it's worth, I didn't hear it, and we're leaving this in the show, by the way. Yes, this is being recorded ahead of time, and this is staying in the show because I'm trying to do the intro, and all of a sudden I can just see this look on Carter's face. I'm like, is there something on my face? Did I say something stupid? Why is everyone laughing at me? And it wasn't me. All right, so we can laugh at Carter. And Jordan really is who we're laughing at, right?
Well, no, it's at me, unfortunately. Once again, Slack coming through, and I think anyone that has Slack will know the stress of hearing one of those little bubbles pop up. So maybe that'll give someone some bad
Is that
stuff.
it right there? I heard that one.
I'm trying to figure it out. It's going poorly.
Well, hey, we'll just plow through the Slack bubbles. We don't care today. We have so much to get to. Hot off the presses on my phone, we have the remainder of the 2020 MLS schedule for the rest of the regular season. 9 more games added going through November 4th. So we're going to break down that for you. Of course, we're going to recap a tough game for Sporting KC against FC Dallas, and maybe a little war of words afterwards as well about style of play, things like that. We'll look ahead to tomorrow night as we're recording this, Wednesday night's game against Orlando City, and we'll talk with the one and only Johnny Russell, who had a brace in that game against FC Dallas, even though it was in a losing effort. So we've got a big show coming up for you guys. We've got Trost with us. We've got Carter Augustine standing by with Jordan Burrell next to him just in case we need any Slack bubbles going on as well. How are you guys? Carter, I'll start with you. What's going on, man? How are you?
Yeah, doing well, Nate. Can't complain. How are you guys?
Doing well, Allie. How are we feeling? How's the recovery coming from the post-COVID situation?
Feeling great and back out into the still very strange world, but I'm allowed to be out. And I was at the game actually on Saturday, which was kind of almost an emotional feeling being back at Children's Mercy Park for the first time. So great to see everybody, watch the game in person, which just totally different experience. So feeling good and doing well. And hello, John.
It's good to know that you're feeling well. It was good to have you out there. And now, right as we're recording, the one and only Johnny Russell has logged on to join us. So we'll just jump right into that. We'll get into the other stuff later. Schedule this, the game reaction and preview stuff. Let's talk with Johnny first. Just back from training too, right, Johnny? How are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing well. And I want to tell these other two that Johnny and I, we text back and forth every once in a while when the Celtic matches are on, because we're in a very similar space here. I've got my third child who is, as you guys know, 10 months oldish right now. He's got a Celtic zip-up onesie that he sits on my lap and watches the games. I'll be honest, Johnny, I can't get the other two kids to actually sit down for an entire match and watch with me right now. Yeah. But you texted me that you've got the wee man. That's what you call him, right? The wee man.
The wee man, yeah.
He's watching the matches with you. How's he liking them so far?
He's been enjoying it. I don't know if it's my daughter was the same when she was younger. I don't know if it's the green everywhere. But he's interested, which is a good sign for me. Get another little Celtic fan in the brood.
Yeah, it's a nice world we live in where you can be all the way across the planet and still watch the games. And ESPN Plus is picking up the Scottish Premier League, by the way, very soon, which is going to be nice. But I'm curious about this part. I was thinking about this the other day when you were texting me that. How many times, or have you ever made the wee man cry because of a Celtic goal? Like you screamed and all of a sudden the baby was in your arms and has that happened to you at any point? Because I know it's happened to me a couple times.
Not yet. It's not happened yet. I don't know. Probably soon.
Yeah. You
So
keep your
Johnny-
composure better than me. That's what you're saying.
A little bit. I mean,
No,
if I've got,
he's
if I'm holding it,
celebrating too. He's got his
I
hand.
know.
Same thing.
I know.
So Johnny, what's his name? What has life been like with 2 kids now, and what's everything been like in an already weird year? And now you welcome the wee man to it.
Yeah, he's called Julius, and it's been good. I mean, obviously, when we're in lockdown, I got to spend a lot of time with him that I would never normally get. So, from that point of view, I was happy to spend that time with him. And everyone's good, everyone's healthy. It's been a tough year. We were supposed to have a lot of family out this year. We had it all planned in the off season. We sat down and planned with everyone when they were going to come out, how long they were going to be out. So, I think we had people coming out. I don't think we had a break of like 2 or 3 weeks without family here, like family and friends. So to go from that, and then, I mean, I came back over here, January. So I haven't seen any of my family or any of my friends since January. So it's been a bit difficult. And obviously my wife's the same. She hasn't seen her family since just before the beginning of the season. So, I mean, it's been tough, but like I said, we're all healthy. We've got each other, so we're good.
How's the daughter doing as well? Is she any jealousy of being the oldest kid and the new one coming along? And is she getting into soccer now at starting to get to that age?
She is. No, she's been great. Not that you're worried about it, but you just never know what your kids are going to be like. But she's been great with them. She's a really good big sister, and I think she kind of enjoys that job as well. But no, she's really getting into it. She doesn't get to come to a lot of games. So to get to come to the one the other day, she really enjoyed that. She wasn't happy with me. I took her on the pitch before the game, and she wanted to go back on after it. But obviously they were doing the work on it, so I couldn't let her go on, and she wasn't happy with me about that. But no, she's into it. We're going to start getting her into going to little like training sessions and stuff like that, and just see how she takes to it. Let her decide what she wants to do. I'm trying to get her into golf so I can. It's my retirement. Get her into golf so I can travel about. I'm thinking steps ahead here, but no, just let her try loads of different things, whatever she wants to do, and take it from there.
So, are you a big golfer? I don't think we've ever broached this topic before.
I'm not a huge golfer. I love watching golf. I love playing golf, but having training and then kids, it's difficult to get out. But I do love playing it. I'm okay. I wouldn't say I'm the greatest. I wouldn't say I'm the worst. I'm steady. Can get round and enjoy my day. It's infuriating sport, to be honest. It's hit a nice shot, hit a bad shot, and the clubs they want to go. But no, I've always tried to, like, outside football, I've always tried to play different sports, and golf's one that I really took to enjoy.
We talked with Graham Smith about his golf game, and he seems to be maybe the best golfer. I don't want to give him that title without running it by you first, because I know that was a big thing down in the bubble. But I want to move away from golf because I do have a question, Johnny. We hear Johnny F. Russell, Johnny freaking Russell, Johnny expletive Russell, but your middle name does not start with an F. I'm curious, one, do people get confused with what the F stands for if they don't know how Sporting Kansas City uses that? And two, did you ever have any nicknames before you came over to Sporting Kansas City that clubs that you played for used?
No, there's never really any confusion. I think I don't know if people outside the Sporting fans will know what it is, but no one's ever asked me or brought it up.
Like Johnny Frederick Russell, that's not your name.
No, they never really assume it's a name. They just, I don't know if people care really, or they just don't think about it. But no, it's not something that's ever came up. And as far as nicknames go, never. It's just been Johnny or JR. That's pretty much been it.
Do you like the JFR moniker that Casey?
Of course. You've got to love it, haven't you?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a badass name. It really is. It's a badass name, and everybody wishes they were cool enough to have someone else put the F in the middle of their name. That's just the truth. What is your real middle name?
You don't want to hear this. Simpson, Snedden. 2 Scottish names.
Simpson Sned. So Johnny Simpson Sned Russell.
Yeah, it came from my dad's side of the family. I don't have much say in it, to be honest. Not the greatest of names, but they're family names, so I'll keep them in there.
Not as cool as F and Russell. That's
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I should change it. Get my passport on and get it changed.
So Johnny, let's talk about the game on Saturday. It was a frustrating loss, but 2 goals for you off of 2 set pieces. Is that something that you've been practicing, those exact plays and how those goals came about, one off the head and then another beauty off the foot? So, what did you see on those? And is that something that you've been working on in training to put them away on set pieces?
You know what? It's not really, to be honest. It was just sort of came off the cuff because we were down. And they were both from, our left side, which is usually sort of right foot or Busio territory. Sort of we swap from side to side. So usually at the start of the game, I was out there with them. We usually send 2 out. But just because we were down, thought just get numbers in the box, flood the box. And lucky the first one dropped to me. Sort of half read that it was going to drop there when he played the ball in and just tried to get away from my man. Lucky enough I did. And then the second one, just try and put numbers in front of the goalkeeper. Busio whipped in a great ball with speed, and any touch on that, it's more than likely a goal. And obviously it was good for me to get the goals, and it's just frustrating. Like you say, frustrating day. Dominated the ball, created a lot of chances again, and it's just coming away with no points. It is a really frustrating thing, especially the position we were in. We knew we had to win the game, and kind of let ourselves down and playing catch up a little bit again now.
So you've been scoring pretty well at home since the restart, and I'm wondering if you've noticed the song that plays in the stadium now when you score at home.
Finger Boys. Of course.
What is it? I've never noticed. I'm on the air when it happens, so I've never noticed the song. What is it?
It's Venga Boys.
Classic Euro song, right?
Yeah.
Euro group.
Yeah, it's like they were about years ago. It was like just a phase that, I don't know, music in Europe was going through, and the Venga Boys appeared out of nowhere with some like catchy little party songs. And it came from that. But always got to love a bit of the Venga Boys.
Did you ask for that? Is that?
I didn't know. I can't remember how it came about. I think we'd done a couple of things, and like we'd put the song on and we were singing the song just for like a laugh. And then obviously someone's picked up on it and put it on. So no, it's good. Gets the crowd going as well. Seen a few people dance to it when it's been on. So no, you'll need to listen out for that one.
I thought it'd be just some Depeche Mode, but
no, that's just you. I guess that one.
We're visiting with Johnny Russell, and I wanted to ask you about the goals because, and I don't want to paint a picture that's inaccurate. So you tell me if this is wrong. But it seemed to me like, 2 games ago you scored the goal, the match winner, and it seemed to me like at that point in time, you were kind of in one of those spells where you were this close on a lot of chances and they just weren't falling. And you kind of expressed some frustration, I think, in a post-game interview with Carter about that. Then you got that goal. And I remember thinking at that time, I wonder if this is one of those deals where the lid comes off and he's going to start banging them in now. And then you get a brace, in the last game. Is there something to that? I mean, do you feel like once one goes in, now it's like, okay, here we go? Or you take me through what it's like in the mind of a striker like yourself?
And obviously, I want to be scoring goals, creating goals. That's my job for the team. That's why I was brought here. You go through little spells where things don't fall for you. I was getting on the end of a lot of chances, but I just couldn't get full contact on it. People getting their body in the way or getting blocks in the way. It was I mean, it is frustrating. But I said as well after a game, I was asked about it. I never lose confidence in myself or my team. Like, I know if I continue to get myself in those sort of spaces, get those sort of chances, I know I'm going to finish them at some point. I want to do it obviously more frequently, but it's never a case of letting it get to me or letting it lose any confidence. And then that goal against Minnesota was a huge goal, obviously for me and the team, getting that win. And then it's just weird how it happens. You know, you go through a couple of games where you maybe don't get the finish that you want, and then when you do, they all start seeming to go in. So hopefully that's the start of a good run for me and the team as well.
And Johnny, now a very quick turnaround before tomorrow's game against Orlando. What's the attitude of the team been like in training, especially after, like we talked about, such a frustrating end with time wasting, a late goal? What has the attitude been like, and how have you guys kind of come together to move past what happened Saturday and get ready for a new team on Wednesday?
We're going to have to beat our best. Everyone knows how well Orlando are playing at the minute. But obviously everyone was frustrated, gutted after the game. But when you've got games so short, you can't let it get to you. And it can be a blessing at times as well. You've got that little time to bounce back as well, which we've seemed to do well. Obviously we'll be looking to do that again. Like I said, it's been a good couple of days training we've put in. Everyone looks confident, fresh. So no, I can't really see any sort of hangover of the weekend. It was disappointing, but we've got another game to put it right, and that's the beauty of having games so soon.
Yeah, you talked about Orlando, their best start to a season in their history, and when you're looking at the game, I think you look at for them the two wide men, Nani and Chris Mueller, having fantastic seasons. When you go into a game like this, you being kind of, the attacking threat for Sporting, and you're going up against a team that has similar, really quality players in attack, is there something about like our attack versus their attack in this game? Their wingers are creating a lot, and we want to match up with them, or what's the thinking going into a matchup against a team with two good wingers like they do?
Well, first of all, we need to stop them. Like you said, very dangerous players having great seasons, and we know the quality we've got, and plain and simple, they need to be stopped the same way teams will go about trying to stop us attacking and creating stuff. But you want to go into games, you want to be better than the guy you're playing against, the guy in the opposite position of you as well, and that'll be the same across the board. I've got full confidence in our defence that the way we've worked, how we're going to play, that we will stop them. It'll be extremely difficult. We need to work as a team and cut out the silly little errors we let creep into the game at the weekend that we'd sort of got rid of for the few weeks before that. But no, it's more of the same. Confident going into the game. It's a weird one. We've been playing well, got a lot of possession, creating chances. We just haven't really pieced it all together, collectively, defensively, and offensively as well. So I'm sure if that clicks, we get everything right on Wednesday, then I'm extremely confident the 3 points for us as well.
Hey, Johnny, before we let you go, I kind of want to get your thoughts on this. So we heard Peter Vermees talk after the game about some of the antics by FC Dallas and the time wasting. I kind of hesitate to talk about that stuff during the broadcast, but to me it was so over the top in that game that I felt like saying something. And the reason I guess I say I hesitated to talk to is because I think that when you're on the losing side, it comes across as sour grapes.
Yeah.
And I don't think any of us are arguing that is why the game was decided. We know Sporting made their mistakes, and that was about the game. But as fans of the game, as people that want to see the game grow in this country, I want to get your thoughts as a person from Scotland, because I know that different parts of the world value the game differently and what they accept and don't accept. I don't get the sense that most Americans really appreciate, don't want to see that aspect of the game. I definitely get the sense you guys don't appreciate that in Scotland. What are your thoughts? I'm just curious overall, and how is that stuff received? Because it does start to permeate all over the world these days.
I say that after the game, when you lose a game and you talk about it, people just think you're making excuses, but that isn't the reason we lost the game. I said that after the game. That isn't why we lost. But when you play a team who, like, if you're winning the game, like we all do it, you manipulate the clock a little bit, you take a little bit longer to go for a corner, take a set piece. Like, everyone does it. Mm-hmm. You can't have really any complaints about it, but the level that they done it to was it was just completely disrespectful. It took way too long, and it does take way too long for officials to stop it. I mean, teams are doing it to us from 15, 20 minutes, and we're a team who want to get the ball down and play. So when they break up the tempo of the game the way we want to play it, then it does get frustrating. And then towards the end of the game, I mean, it just became an absolute embarrassment, to be honest. I've personally grown up, like, in Scotland. I'm not used to that. We don't do that. It's more when you start to play sort of European games, or it creeps in a little bit there. But like you said, who wants to watch that? Like, as a fan of any team, or even if you were watching that game and you weren't a fan of either team, you're watching that and you're going like, come on, what is this? So I think it was completely disrespectful. But like I said, if teams aren't going to be punished for doing it, they're going to continue to do it. So you don't want to see people being sent off. But I mean, I think I spoke about it after the game. It was one of the free kicks they had right at the end. The guy must have taken over a minute to take a free kick. Like, what else? What else can you do there? You're constantly saying to the referee, like, this is getting too far. But I just can't see a referee giving a second yellow card for time wasting like that. They get one for kicking the ball away, which is a yellow card. But how many times before that did they kick the ball away and get away with it? So it's just, it has to be consistent, and it has to be a harsher punishment. But like I said earlier, like, if we're winning the game, people do take longer to do stuff. Everyone does it. Is it annoying? Yes, but you can't say anything about it when you do it yourself. But just to the level certain teams do it, I think it's a joke, to be honest.
Yeah, no, it was definitely frustrating to watch, and I agree. It's got to be a little bit more consistent across the board, because there was no consistency when it came to that on Saturday. But I do have one question when it comes to consistency and some of the inconsistencies, at least in the lineup for Sporting Kansas City. As far as the forward line is concerned, with Gadi Kinda moving into a false nine, Kyrie Shelton starting, Jerso Fernandez, some rotations out on the wings. What's that been like for you after playing with the mostly consistent lineup for the most part up top, and then now seeing some of those adjustments either being made before the game or in the game?
I mean, as any player, you want consistency, you want to create good habits, and you have to change certain ways you play, certain way you go about a game for certain games, and that was just the way we seen the game at half time. Made the sort of tactical change to put Gadi there and drop in a little bit and leave a little bit of space for me and Kyrie and sort of midfield runners. But when we've got the quality we've got attacking wise, we know there's going to be changes. There's too many games in a short period of time that there isn't, like, you just can't play with the same lineup the whole time. There has to be changes, and obviously you want to be the one that plays all the time, but you've got guys who are coming in and bringing a little bit different to certain games. Maybe a team's weakness will be exploited by a different player, and you just have to put up with that. It's your job to be there for the team whenever called upon. But like you said, you want that consistency, and I think due to injuries as well, we haven't really had that. So be good to get everyone back, get everyone firing, and try and get ourselves back to top and position we want to be in going forward.
With that in mind, the schedule was just released today, and it's
Was
been.
it? I haven't seen it.
So he hasn't seen it. So there's we could do maybe a live reaction, but
Hey, real time. Let's get it.
Let's go through each
Yeah, I
game
haven't
now,
seen it.
Johnny.
Like,
No.
I trained
want
and
you
then
to-
drove home, and I've been with the kids, so I haven't even seen it.
yeah. So we're gonna have you break down each opponent just step by step.
Yeah.
But so when you're at the start of a normal season, you can kind of look at the schedule, and there's a halfway point. There's 10 games in, all this and that. That obviously has been thrown out the window this year. But now with this schedule released, it does mean that on the schedule for the season are 23 games for Sporting. You guys have played 12, so you're a little bit over what will be halfway of this crazy season. I guess where do you feel the team is at right now, at the quote unquote halfway point, looking forward to these next 11 games?
I think we've put ourselves in a good position. I think it's only down to ourselves that we haven't got more points than we should have got at this point. The way we've played in certain games, chances we've created, we should be well out in front. We haven't been because of sort of inconsistencies we've had. I think a lot of teams have struggled with that, but I think from our point of view, the way we set out to start the season, then it's been a bit more frustrating when you look at the points we've dropped from the positions we were in. Then, we're still in a good position right now, but obviously we set out to be top. We wanted to be there. We put ourselves in a great position to do that, and especially a lot of the home games. It's difficult to travel in this league and pick up points, but especially the home games, we should be picking up more points than we have been recently. So still in a good position, but definitely should be a lot better.
Well, still a lot of time to get that done, and it looks like some guys are coming back from injury too. And I think that the best part of the season is yet to come, Johnny. So thank you so much for the time. We appreciate it. Enjoy the wee man and the wee woman. And,
I will.
And we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right. Thanks, guys. Good speaking to you.
All right. There's Johnny Russell, JFR. Joining us on the show. We'll break down that schedule for you. Carter, Allie, and I will go game by game. We'll talk about those games and do some more with you as we come back on the Sporting Kansas City Show, off and running on Sports Radio 810 WHB. And welcome back to the Sporting Kansas City Show on Sports Radio 810 WHB, wherever you get your podcasts, wherever you stream your video content. Our thanks to JFR, Johnny Russell, for joining us on the show. And we're going to move forward now with a few different things on my agenda here, guys. And before we get into the schedule, I wanted to stop and talk about something that stood out to me this weekend because, and I want to get you guys' opinion on this. This was one of the best sports weekends since the pandemic. American sports, football, basketball, game-winning shots, game-winning touchdowns, game-saving touchdowns, all that. But maybe for me, the best image that is still in my head of everything that happened this weekend was the image of Cristiano Ronaldo celebrating a goal with his arm around a 20-year-old American named Weston McKennie for Juventus. I'm going to give you guys my reasons for that in a second, and I'll start with you, Carter. Did it hit you guys? I don't know. Did it affect you guys the way that, even close to the way that it did me, that's still like the number one thing on my mind, to see Weston McKennie not only play, but play the way that he did for Juventus in his first game?
Yeah, it was awesome. I don't know. When he made the move, I was kind of expecting him to start for a long time as being more of a bench role player. And maybe that is his role here for the short term. But I was surprised to see him in the starting lineup for the first game. And I don't know if, what all is going with the Juve lineup, but hopefully it continues. So I remember when the news went out on Saturday that he was in the starting, and of course, U.S. soccer Twitter is a pretty funny place to be at, but it exploded. And all of a sudden I'm like, man, do I have to get this Juve game on as well? And kind of had it on it was Sunday. And so I kind of had it, on in the background as well. I'm with you. It's a really cool moment. And just, I think a lot of U.S. soccer fans did some reflecting this weekend, just looking over across at everything that happened. You have Gio Reyna scoring a goal for Dortmund in their first game. Tyler Adams playing really well. You got Christian Pulisic, who's, injured at the time being, but he's the new number 10 for Chelsea. So, and everything that goes with that. You've got Zach Steffen on the bench for Man City yesterday. I mean, there's just so many positives to look at. And the photo with him and Ronaldo was awesome. But I'm also looking at there's a good clip from his rating that he got from Gazzetta dello Sport, and he got one of the higher ratings that the whatever newspaper writer gave out for the Juventus team from that game. But what he said was, this is a player that Juve fans will really love, and this is the type of player that Juve fans take to because of the fight that he puts out on the field. So I'm with you. It was a really fun weekend.
Carter, Nate, very well said, and I'm glad you brought up Gio Reyna's goal. That was a really cool moment as well. But I mean, all I have to add is that the future's bright. I think it's just such a cool time and transitional time, really, in U.S. soccer, and just excitement. You can feel it, and that hope that seems to be renewed as well in the future of U.S. soccer. So what a cool weekend, and an iconic photo that will probably stick around for a long, long time.
Okay, so yes, thank you guys, and here, so now I'll give my 2 cents on it. Carter and I have talked a lot about how our fandom of the United States men's national team might be bigger than any. And Carter, I know that's always been your number one passion. And for those of us that long suffering, that love it, that have gone through the disappointment of the last World Cup cycle, gone through the endless stream of young phenom players that we hope are going to be the next star of American soccer. For a long time, to be honest with you, I would get frustrated by the mindset that, oh, hey, there's a guy playing in Europe and he's got an American passport, or he is an American kid, but he's playing in Europe and he's going to be a star because he's playing in Europe. And my attitude always was, just because you're playing in the continent of Europe does not mean you're playing in the best league or with the best teams or getting a lot of playing time. And right now, all those guys you just listed off are playing at really good, if not worldly great clubs in great leagues. And I mean, when Holland puts his arm around Gio Reyna, that might be the best young forward in the world that's doing that. And a team that's got aspirations to win the German Bundesliga. When Cristiano Ronaldo hugs Weston McKennie, that's arguably the greatest player in the history of the world that's putting his arm around a young American that he's playing with. And yeah, look, a lot of bad things to be said about Jurgen Klinsmann's tenure as a coach, but one of the things he used to say a lot was, if you want the United States to be a team that can compete for a World Cup someday, they've got to have players playing on that stage. Because when they get to the World Cup, they have to have already been playing with and against those players of that caliber. And to me, this is the first time I'm thinking of where not only are players from America playing in those leagues, we've seen players play in Germany and England and Italy for the United States, but playing for the best teams and playing critical roles for the best teams. And Tyler Adams, you throw into the mix because his team made it to the semifinals of the Champions League, and he played a crucial role to that. And so that excites the heck out of me right there. And the other part is, boy, I don't know, maybe you guys will slap me for saying that, maybe somebody should, because I get a tendency to get wound up here. But I believe this. I believe this with all my heart. I don't have to squint that hard to picture in my mind's eye one of the world-class players in the world putting his arm around Gianluca Busio in the next few years because he's on the same field, pulling the strings and making a pass to one of those guys. That's how well I think Gianluca Busio has played in the 7 games and what we've seen from him in his ascendancy. And I don't think it's that hard. It's not like it doesn't – because those guys are doing that now, and I'll throw Alphonso Davies in the mix even though he's not American. He's an MLS kid, right? The fact that those guys – he's won the European Champions League. The fact that those guys are doing that now tells me – and I think it tells the world when a young kid is playing really well in MLS – it's not a guarantee that every one of them is going to go over there and play for one of those clubs. but it also means now that it's not a joke to think that he could, right? Like, I think for a long time there was that you have to see it before you can really believe it. Those guys have paved the way. If Gianluca Busio does what he's supposed to do and continues to work the way he's working and grow the way he's growing, am I out of line there, Carter, to say that's he's capable of doing those types of things, and we're seeing it right now that other kids are showing that.
Go ahead, Allie. Looked like you had.
I was just going to say, I mean, maybe not immediately right now, but his stock has definitely gone up in the last few games with Sporting Kansas City. And if there's one thing that I think will help separate him, it's the fact that he's versatile. He can play as an attacking mid. He can play as a defensive mid. And I loved what manager Peter Vermees said about it. He said that when they moved Busio back to that number 6 role, he said, make it your own. Don't play this role and try and make it what you see other people do in that role. Make it your own. And that's exactly what he's done. And I think that while there was maybe some skepticism about Gianluca Busio, you saw it on Twitter, you saw some of the national guys wondering, hey, is he really like, I'm just not buying into it quite yet. And I think what he showed is that he's not only a player who can play an attacking mid, and I would even argue that when he did move back into attacking mid in this most recent game, he looked even better after having that experience playing at the number 6. So I don't know when that time will come for Busio, but it's way closer than it appeared at even the start of this season, and his stock has gone up significantly in this MLS season, and I'm excited to see the progress that he has, not just that we've seen from last year to this year, but from this year to next year as well.
I think what kind of strikes me is maybe part of the reason we're starting to see this is just the growth of soccer as a whole in the country. It has been so great, and a couple of those guys are MLS Academy guys. You talked about Alphonso Davies, Tyler Adams. McKinney obviously spent a little time with FC Dallas before.
7 years.
Yeah. So you'd probably put him in there as well. And so I think we're starting to see the fruits of some really hard labor that MLS has put in over the past 10 years or so with the academy system. And Brian Scaretta actually tweeted out over the weekend, 58 U.S. youth eligible players and 7 Canadian youth players played. So that's 65 domestic youth players played over this past weekend in just 13 games with 7 goals and 6 assists. So like these kids they're starting to play more, and the MLS is better for it. And it looks like they're not shrinking from the moment. And you have to consider these kids are starting to play at a time when higher caliber players are coming to MLS as well. Yep. So there's just, it really does seem like a rising tide lifts all boats in this one, because you're starting to see this academy system pay dividends, both for MLS teams and their ability to sell players and grow, and then also hopefully for the U.S. youth national team, because you mentioned Gianluca Busio, and we've got super high hopes for him here in Kansas City, as well as the likes of Cameron Duke and Jalen Lindsay. But, there's kids all over the place. We saw a couple – I thought Tessman played really well for Dallas in this game. Yep. And actually to see his growth from when he came on as a sub a month ago or 17 days ago before that, and then – playing as a starter in this game, I thought he was exponentially better in this game. So you saw him, Cervania in there for Dallas, and just across the league, Efrain Alvarez. There's just a ton of kids playing, and it's really awesome to see. And I'm with you. It's hopefully you see Busio in that light here pretty soon. But the kids are all right for the U.S. And man, I just wish we had some games going on here to start seeing them all start to gel together.
Well, it's going to be coming. I think they've started to put the schedule out for October camps and all that, and we'll see. And look, I want to be clear. I'm not guaranteeing anything. Gianluca's future is in his hands, and it's up to him. And just like these other kids, they got to do all the things that it takes. I just think that the sky is the limit. And for those that might wonder, it's good for the club if Gianluca Busio goes on to do great things, right? Like you hope he wins a few trophies here first. And I think one of the things we're seeing is that the young kids can help you win trophies. Tyler Adams helped New York Red Bulls win a supporter shield before he left. But it also then sets the tone for the next wave of young kids. We're seeing younger and younger kids getting opportunities with Sporting Kansas City too, and that pathway to the pros. Not every kid's going to go overseas. There are going to be some kids that come up through academies, become great long-term MLS players. Jordan Morris, that help teams win games for a long time in this league. There will be some that leave and come and go, some that go over to Europe and come back. But it all helps. The success that they have helps this whole system. And I'm just really excited about it, watching those guys do what they're doing. And the guys, like you said, the guys that are playing here in MLS and playing well, not just out there on the field because, let's give this kid a chance. They're playing. They're some of the better players on the field in some of these games. And that's where you want it to be. You don't want it to be just because they're forcing them up and, hey, let's give this kid a shot because he's young. They're producing. So I wanted to talk about that. All right. You guys ready to get into this schedule?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I do want to shout out Eric Palmer-Brown, though. He's still just 23, and he made Team of the Week this past weekend for Austria Vienna. So,
nice.
Yeah.
So, he's still pretty young, and he kind of gets forgotten about sometimes. But
he's definitely young. I know in sports sometimes the ages are skewed a little bit and how old it actually is. 23 is still young. But shout out to these academy systems too. It has not been a very long time that they've had to achieve this level of success that we are seeing right now. And I think, as much criticism as Major League Soccer gets, as U.S. soccer gets, and just the catch up that they've had to do to catch up with these other leagues and other countries, it's remarkable to see where we are right now compared to where we were even a decade ago.
Yep.
Yeah, they have U23 youth teams, right? So that means
exactly.
If there's still a youth team for your age group, you're young.
And center backs especially. I mean, Thiago Silva just signed for Chelsea. He's going to turn 36. To Ali's point, I think one thing is like the college is still producing players as well. It's just the academy system has been so massive for U.S. development, and it's just the more pathways you can have, the better. And it's looking really good.
Yeah, not every pathway is going to be the same either. That's for sure. All right, let's get into the schedule. This is hot off the presses right before we started the show today. Major League Soccer announcing the remainder of the 2020 regular season schedule. We've already got the 2 games that were on the schedule. Wednesday night against Orlando City, then Sunday at the Colorado Rapids. After that, 9 more games to close out what will turn out to be a 23-game regular season schedule. And guys, it's going to be kind of like it's been ever since the return to the bubble, because you're looking at 9 matches in 37 days. So boom, boom, boom. Depth is going to be tested. Carter, what was your first reaction when you saw these last 9 games on the schedule added?
Well, we get to round out the season series with Minnesota and Colorado and Houston, so that'll be good.
Another FC Dallas in there too. Get to go down there.
Yeah, exactly. And this is something that you've talked about, Nate, but the end of the season is just going to really fascinate me, considering it's not an unbalanced schedule, it's not a balanced schedule normally, but this year seems even more unbalanced than normal. So that's really going to intrigue me. But I think if you're a sporting fan, you have to look at the games that they've got. And, you get crossover games with Nashville and Chicago and Cincinnati. It's not a bad draw if you're looking at just where every team is in the standings right now.
Yeah, Carter, I'm with you. I think the first thing that stood out to me was, yes, we will get to see our old friends a couple more times throughout this next stretch of games, but Sporting really did hit the jackpot in terms of strength of schedule or ease of schedule in terms of their new opponents added. And again, anything can happen. It's been an unusual season, quick turnarounds, and a lot of other factors that go into how some of these results could shake out. But if you're looking at just purely what is happening in the standings right now, Nashville SC, FC Cincinnati, Chicago Fire, 3 teams who haven't necessarily done exceptionally well this season. And so Sporting Kansas City does have an opportunity to pick up points in those games. But also looking forward to the Real Salt Lake game. That was an opponent we only saw them play one time and is usually a big game for Sporting each season. So looking forward to some of these matches.
All right, yeah, so here's the schedule after Orlando City and Colorado. It's at Houston, at home against Chicago, at home against Nashville, at FC Dallas, at the Chicago Fire, at home against the Rapids, at FC Cincinnati, at home against Minnesota United, and wrapping up the season on November 8th at Real Salt Lake, and then the playoffs after that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about this next matchup, Orlando City a new face coming to town, and we'll talk about that when we come back on the Sporting Kansas City Show. All right, back to wrap things up on this edition of the Sporting Kansas City Show. Nate Bukaty, Carter Augustine, and Ali Trost. All right, guys, Wednesday night, 6:30, it's on national television, FS1. Of course, you can listen to the radio broadcast with me, Jacob Peterson, and Carter Augustine on Sports Radio 810 WHB, and the final whistle with Ali Trost and Dave Borchert and Chad Reynolds right after the game. It's a good drive home listening for me to listen to you guys breaking it down on the post game as well. Get some thoughts on this game. This Orlando City team, they looked really good down in the bubble. And I think we wondered, okay, is that because they're the home team in Orlando? Maybe it's really more because they got a head coach in Oscar Pareja who actually has a style of play that they have an identity maybe for the first time since really joining MLS. Carter, what are your thoughts on Orlando City so far in 2020?
You're spot on. I mean, Pareja's done so phenomenally well. They're unbeaten in 6, I believe. So, it obviously hasn't been just Orlando, although they haven't played a ton of away games. So this will be an interesting challenge for them from that respect. But you got to give credit to Pareja. And then I look at their 2 wide players, and they've just been so excellent. I mean, Chris Mueller, I believe he's top of the league in terms of goals and assists per 90 without penalties. So that says all it needs to say right there. If you're the top of that chart, you're doing something pretty well. So he has come on in leaps and bounds this year. I think he's got to be in the national team discussion. I'm sure Berhalter's been looking at him and how well he's been playing. So it's going to be, Ali, a huge challenge for Sporting and their fullbacks, especially because with him and Nani on either side, obviously it's a midweek game, so you're never quite sure if they're going to keep the same lineup. But if it's those 2 guys, they pose a huge threat.
Yeah, and Peter Vermees was talking about it in his press conference earlier, their quick counterattacks, their quality of players in the attack. And this is a Sporting team that we've now seen concede some questionable goals in terms of, what was going on defensively and just some plays that they would definitely want back. But then we've also seen them in situations like against Minnesota where they don't allow a single shot on goal. So as long as Sporting can bring that type of defense to this game, it's going to be incredibly important against a team that does have such quality goal scorers. The only thing that might be in Sporting's favor is the difficulty of schedule that they've had compared to Orlando in this part 3, phase 1 of the season. Orlando's really only played Nashville, Inter Miami, Atlanta, teams that have definitely struggled a bit this season. So this might be one of the best opponents that Orlando is going to be up against in Sporting Kansas City since the MLS's back tournament.
How wild is it that we're saying Atlanta is
I know, it's so crazy.
That's crazy.
It feels weird. It doesn't feel right coming off the tongue, but
it's like Orlando and LAFC, these recent expansion sides are really struggling, going through some growing pains in 2020. Yeah. That's how weird 2020 is. But it is true when it comes to trying to figure out who's good and who's not in MLS this year. It almost feels like a college football thing where you know what? You've been playing in your conference for so long. We haven't seen you play anybody outside of your conference. We don't really know how to compare the relative strengths of the teams. And so I guess we just know that the Big 12 school is going to go get beaten by the SEC school here at some point in time. I don't know. I don't know what it means.
It would be like if the Chiefs only played the AFC West for about a month and a half straight. And that's, It hasn't been, MLS doesn't have divisions per se, but that's kind of what it's been like in this part 3 of the season.
Yeah, and it's gonna be fun.
I like that strength of schedule analogy, Nate. We're in the Big 12 here and finally getting an ACC team to come up to the Midwest and play. It's going to be, I'm excited just from the standpoint of, it's the first time since the Dallas game that they're playing a new team. It's the first Dallas game, I should say. So just to have a little wrinkle is going to be exciting. I think Dom Dwyer and Uri Rosell are both ruled out for the game. So that's a little disappointing just to not have that little special angle, but still going to be a really good game. And I think their goalkeepers had a pretty good year as well. And his nickname is the Octopus, El Pulpo. And I think that's just maybe the best goalkeeper nickname out there.
That's
Yeah.
incredible. Well, and Alan Polito likely going to be back for this game, which is big for Sporting Kansas City, adds more depth for them at the attack. I think the only question is how long will he be able to go in this game? Will he be 90 minutes fit or not?
Yeah, Peter Vermees said at his news conference earlier today that he was available for selection, but did not choose to put him into the 20-man roster for that game this past weekend. But he absolutely will be in the, at least on the bench or in the starting lineup. He'll be in the mix on Wednesday night. And of course, they had him address the media this week as well. Alan Polito, I don't think Sporting's going to do that if he's not going to play. So we'll see, because they are not scoring as many goals without Alan Polito in the mix. And I would argue that they're not protecting leads as well either, because he was really good at helping just be a calming presence, put his foot on the ball, knew when to attack, when to hold on to possession for the team. He's got that really that football street smarts about him. And I think, he's going to help for sure being back out on the field. All right, so again, 6:30 tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Sporting KC versus Orlando City. Check out the radio broadcast right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB with me, Carter, and Jacob Peterson. And Ali Trost leads the post-game coverage with Dave Borchert and Chad Reynolds afterwards as well. All right, thanks to everybody for watching and listening. Thanks to Johnny Russell for joining us. For Carter and Ali, this is Nate Bukaty saying we'll see you next time on the Sporting Kansas City Show.